So let's jump into the show. We're going right in it. Surviving an IRS audit. You know what I mean? What happened? I don't know. You found some guru on the internet with the promise of no taxes or something of that nature. You know, maybe you got a trust set up. Maybe you don't. Maybe who knows what it is. Might be a partnership. I don't know. But nonetheless, you're administering trust, maybe even administering the private estate. There comes a time for all trust administrators who don't follow specific rules that it all goes bad. Specifically, an IRS audit or some sort of allegation. So we're going to talk about surviving an IRS trust audit today. And let's go. So, what is the essential principles with regards to surviving an IRS audit? Well, first and foremost, you have to have a complete, distinct, separate entity. Trust. Like it can't be an alter ego. You can't have a trust, but then you're transferring trust funds to your personal account. It has to be a complete, separate entity. It has to have its own email address minimum. It's got to have its own phone number, preferably. It's going to have an address. It's going to have an EIN. It's going to have a checking account, minimum. Email address, phone number, address, checking account, minimum. Minimum requirements. If you do not have those four things, I don't know what to tell you. You should probably, handle that. These are minimum requirements. There is no such thing as a structure that does not have an address. Every corporation has an address. Every corporation has a phone number. Every corporation has an email. Every corporation has its own checking account. Same thing with a trust. Exact same thing. These are things that lend themselves to substantiating a distinct, separate entity. Please write that down. Distinct, separate entity. Very important. You also have to know what an alter ego is. Disregarded entity. Those are no-nos. But what I've found a lot, in teaching trust administration for over 7 years, is that most trustees in training want to hear the positive news. They want to hear all of the good things that can be done with private contractual trust administration. They do not want to investigate the bad things. And this, to me, is a mistake, a huge mistake. Most people look for Supreme Court cases that lend themselves positively to what they're doing. They do not look for cases that lend themselves negatively. That's bad. When you research the negative aspects or negative effects or potentialities with administering trust, you learn what not to do. You learn from others' mistakes. It's important to me to be guided by reason versus experience versus nature, so on and so forth. So it's important to not only research positive aspects, it's also important to research negative aspects. It dispels fear, first and foremost, and a lot of people deal with fear with this stuff. People have problems with faith. Faith in your own intelligence. You just read that, right? Article 1, Section 10, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. You read that. Don't believe it. And I get that. But you have to take into consideration positive and negatives, because that's the entire circle. So, own email address, own phone number, own address, own checking account. These are the first, in my opinion, I'm not giving legal advice. I don't give tax advice. I'm not a lawyer. This is not to be construed as legal advice or tax advice. Quit playing with me. But in my opinion, my personal opinion, those 4 things are of high importance. Just to start off, because, the inception stuff, essentially, and I'm not necessarily talking about the execution of the trust indenture. I'm talking about the inception of the business, the inception of the beginnings of what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for, y'all? Come on, someone text me. The beginnings of administration, startup, trust, whatever. You should really rest on those 4 things. I don't care if the email is a Gmail. I don't care if the phone number is a Google Voice or Voice over Internet Protocol number, VoIP. I don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as it is distinct and separate from your phone number. The email, don't care. Gmail, what's the old one? The old schools, they rock. Yahoo emails, Outlook emails, doesn't matter. Proton, doesn't matter. A separate email address from you. Its own checking account, trust checking account. Not just another account that you opened up as an individual personal account, but you just use it for trust business. Don't do that. You're going to make a mistake, and it doesn't look distinctly separate. Now, through administration, and specific administration, we will be able to navigate these waters properly. So we got those 4 base things: email, phone number, checking account, address. Some people will say, so, what do you mean address? Can I use my home address? You can. Happens all the time. Absolutely. But if you're using a home address, I suggest that the trust pay you for use of the portion of your home that it utilizes, like an at-home business, home-based business. I don't care if it's $20. It's a room with a file cabinet, $20. I don't care what it is. Especially if it's a business trust. Family trust, not so much. Especially if it's a business trust. Asset trust, not so much. Business trust. I don't want you to think that you got to go out and get a P.O. box. You got to go out and get some sort of office or something like of that nature. That's not what I'm saying. And, you got the 4 things: checking account, phone number, email address, and you got the address. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. So, if you have to use your home address, use your home address. It's not a problem. So you got those 4 things out the way. Now, what's next? When we're looking to survive an IRS audit, I'm going to tell you right now, from my perspective, it is absolutely simple. And you've probably heard me say this before. Whatever will get you fired or written up at your job will get you in trouble in administering a trust. Whatever that will get you fired or written up at your jobby job will get you in trouble with regards to trust administration. Hands down. No joke. No joke. Think about it. It makes sense. So, I mean, we've all had jobs, and I would go so far as to say we've all been fired at least once. We've seen people get fired. Make the connection. Because your job, your employer, is a distinct, separate entity from you, the individual, or the living, breathing, whatever. I'm not trying to, assume your status. You are not the corporation. You are not the employer. The employer is not you. What the employer possesses and what belongs to the corporation does not belong to you. And any rules or SOP, standard operating procedure, internal policies that are breached will at the very least get you warned or talked to. Do it again, you're probably going to get written up. You get written up again, they're going to talk to HR, say to go home for a week. Don't worry about it. And then next you know, you get an email from HR saying you'll no longer have a job. If you can connect actions that get you in trouble at work, man, you're already off to the races when it comes to trust administration. People think that this is some sort of rocket science or something. It's not. What it does is it takes work. And when I mean work, time and thought. And it requires, quite a bit of time and thought at first. But eventually it gets easy. It's like everything else. How long did it take you to learn how to drive? How hard was it to drive home today? Hopefully you follow what I'm saying. Anything that would get you written up or fired from a public employer, watch out now. I want to make a point. I'm going to digress just a little bit. The issue with the IRS is the use in transacting in Federal Reserve notes. And I'm sure you know that, right? So, some people, I got to pay taxes. Well, the trust is private. We don't have to file a return. Look, I don't care if your trust is private. You got a 98 number. You went to Taiwan to get the documents and flew back. Came back with some Taiwanese gold or something. I don't care. Doesn't matter. If the trust transacts in Federal Reserve notes, that is a minimum contact with the United States, and the use of the Federal Reserve notes requires at the very minimum that a return be filed at the end of the year. And people say, so I went to this accountant, and, you don't tell us what accountant to go to because you're mean. No. Whatever, man. I went to this accountant, and they wouldn't do the trust return. I don't want to do. I'm feeling bad. I want to give up. You're probably one of the people who, calling into training, but you're at the grocery store, you're driving in the car, you're talking to people and stuff. You're not really paying attention. You treat training on Sundays as like the show on Wednesdays. And that's not the case. The difference between training and the show, you pay for training. Show's free. Training in the show, there's archives of the show. Ain't no archives of the training. And unless you take the time to sit your butt down for an hour out of the entire week to join the training and pay attention, you're probably not going to survive an IRS audit. Your vernacular, the words that you're using, the way that you're speaking, you're not confident. You're just trying to effectuate a certain result, but you're not willing to put into actual work to be competent in the actual requisite knowledge and procedure required to survive an IRS trust audit. And that's sad to me. That's, hey, dang. Player, we are of the microwave generation. Immediate gratification. I mean, Amazon's got overnight shipping. They got same day stuff. I made an order at 11. I swear the delivery showed up at 3 o'clock. You get instant access to your Netflix account. As soon as you pay for something, you get it. And that has really been a detriment, because now we have this unrealistic expectation that things should be coming fast, things should come easy. And when we're challenged, especially mentally, we shrink. We shrink back. Or we simply look to do what we did in school, what is necessary, or, the minimum to get what we want. You will not survive an IRS trust audit doing that. Police. I call them the lower lease. People are like, what does that mean? I'm like, police, man, lower lease. I'm sorry, I have an attention deficit stance. ADD, attention deficit stance. Now, surviving the IRS audit, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you honestly. I'm not charging for this. This is free. This is, the you could see the charitable purpose within the foundation, right? Because here we go. Easiest way to survive audits, fam. 3 things: proposal, resolution, execution. Proposal, resolution, execution. Write it down. Proposal, resolution, execution. I'll say it one more time. Proposal, resolution, execution. When we are administering these trusts, these private contractual entities, what's happening is that due to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, which states in part, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful thing. The contract itself governs the entity, not state statute, not federal statute. The only governance comes under, Federal Reserve notes how the income is dispersed, how the income is taxed. That's it. There's no other governance. The contract governs. Through proper administration and substantiation, you will survive an IRS trust audit. The key to survival is the 3 things I just said: proposal, resolution, execution. In a lot of situations, you will possess the necessary requisite powers in the original trust indenture. And of course, that's if you're in trustee training with the foundation. I don't know if you're not. I don't know what your indenture looks like. I don't know. I've seen I've seen madness in indentures. I saw an indenture where the guy who set the indenture up named himself as a majority voting trustee. I'm reading this indenture, and I'm like, yo, who is this? I said the name. And the sister was like, oh, that's the guy that helped set up the trust. And I was like, did you read this? She was like, yeah, I read it. I was like, it says that he is the majority voting trustee on your trust. And she said, what? Nuh-uh, he better not be. Like, you either didn't read it, or when you did read it, you was, I don't know, you was, doing a U-turn, you was on the interstate or something. You couldn't pay attention. Because I saw it plain as day. It took me, less than 4 minutes to find that. So as I'm saying, I'm not speaking. If you have been through trustee training here at the foundation, currently are in trustee training at the foundation, or planning to get into trustee training in the future here at the foundation, I'm talking to you. Or if you know, hands down, that your private contracting venture is bulletproof, I don't know how you would, particularly know that, but, I trust in your judgment. But, but if you obtained trustee training here at the foundation, I'm 99% of the powers that you could probably think of are going to exist in the original contract indenture. If there's an issue, if there's a question, if you don't know, if you just have 1 gram of hesitancy at all, proposal, resolution, execution. In a proposal, y'all can write this down. I'm going to talk a little slower. In the proposal, you will propose the thing to be done, and very simply and plainly, you recite the necessary language in the original contract indenture that gives the Board of Trustees the power to do a thing. It's in there. Trust me. And then, in the proposal, propose what you want to do on behalf of the trust. Purchase a car, purchase a home, sign up for HBO. Doesn't matter. As long as the Board of Trustees determines that this is within the power of the board given to it through the contract indenture, and that this would be beneficial for the organization, the proposal is presented to the board at a regular or special meeting. And the Board of Trustees at a regular or special meeting resolves for that proposal to be approved and for the thing to be done. Within the resolution, there will also include any special instructions. For example, if the trust does not have the necessary funds, but the Board of Trustees has determined that the trust would benefit by owning a car, specific instructions in the resolution can stipulate that if the trust does not possess the necessary funds to acquire the car, said trustee, and put the name, may acquire the car using their credit, and the trust will be responsible for all charges, maintenance, fees, insurance, payments of said trust property. Upon completion of the payments, the car is to be immediately titled in the name of the trust. And sign it, and then go do it. What happens is, excuse me, the Internal Revenue Service are going to make allegations. The most common allegation, or the most two common allegations in order, is that the IRS is going to allege that the trust funds or the trust purchases were not authorized or illegitimate purchases, they're not true expenses, and they were for a self or individual purpose, that the individual benefited and, whatever. All you got to do is show them the proposal and show them the minute. If you don't have the minute, then you can't substantiate the transaction. A trust is audited. They go through every single transaction. And if you can't point to a certified notarial copy of the portion of the original contract indenture that authorizes that purchase, you better have a resolution of the Board of Trustees authorizing that purchase or that thing that was done. It's that simple. Don't commingle. Don't self-deal. Execute the contract. Show cause for the things that you're doing, the purchases that are being made on behalf of the trust through resolutions or by directly pointing to the authority within the original governing instrument. If you can do that for every single transaction, I probably would say that your estate will not ever be audited. And if it is, you're going to have so little stress. You might have some adrenaline. There may be some excitement and there may be some fear, but if you do what I'm saying, contract makes the law. No state can impair the obligation of contract. If the trust indenture says it's an expense, then it is an expense. It doesn't matter what the Internal Revenue Service says. It doesn't matter what the United States says. It doesn't matter what the state of Florida says or the state of New Jersey. I mean, even the state of California. Mayo, M-A-Y-O versus Mortiz, M-O-R-T-I-T-Z. The Supreme Court held that trust property cannot be held under attachment nor sold upon execution for trustee's personal debt. That's because the trustee is not commingling. The trustee is not self-dealing. The trustee is able to substantiate all the transactions, and the trust is a complete, legal, distinct, separate entity. The thing about an individual, you don't have to ask permission. You get your check and go do what you want. Unless maybe you're married, then maybe you got to confer, but you technically don't have to do that because, the transaction is still going to go through your personal account. There's no oversight for the individual. And the lack of oversight allows for heavy taxation. Heavy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Heavy taxation. Where? It is not going to happen. If you do not self-deal, if you do not commingle, contract makes the law. What we got? Harwood versus Tracy. The creator of a trust may mold it and give it any shape he or she chooses, and he or the trustees upon such terms as they may choose to impose. These are Supreme Court cases, by the way. Edwards versus the commissioner, the Internal Revenue Service commissioner. The court said dignity of contract cannot be set aside because a tax benefit results either by design or accident. A trust is not illegal if formed for the express purpose of avoiding taxation. This is Week versus Sibley. In Silverthorne Lumber Company versus the United States, the court said the trustees of a trust have all the power necessary to carry out their obligations, which they assume, and their books and records are not subject to review or subpoena. That's power. I mean, And, it amazes me. It absolutely amazes me. Trustees get in training and they just, get lackadaisical and stuff. You expect to wield such power without putting in work, without, entering in some sort of private training or mentorship, without properly substantiated transactions? You think you can self-deal and commingle? That's not how it works. With power comes great responsibility. What is the responsibility? You have to learn how to administer your private estate, yours. Handle your business. Take care of get your house in order. Or not, I'm just talking about surviving an IRS trust audit. It's simple. It's very simple to me. I'll say it again. Trust have its own email address, have its own phone number, have an address, have a checking account. Proposal, board meeting, reviewing and accepting the proposal and describing the terms via resolution, and then do it. Anything that will get you fired or written up at your job will get you in trouble with trust. You will not survive an IRS trust audit. You got to take notes. You got to think ahead. You got to sit down. You have to write resolutions. You have to review the contract indenture. You have to ask yourself, how can I? You have to get it right, buddy. And you got to do your dance. Because this isn't for the weak. It's not for the weary. I know there's been many times in your life where you wanted something and didn't get it. There's been times in my life where I felt like I deserved it and didn't get it, and I was mad because I didn't get it. But that was my lack of maturity. As I matured through experience, through knowledge, through living, through interaction with other humans, I realized through nature that nothing is free. And I'm not owed anything. No matter what color of my skin, it doesn't matter what I've dealt with, the abuses I've survived, the people I've lost, the way I've been treated for whatever reason, doesn't matter. It doesn't entitle me to anything. We got to work. We have to study. With great power comes great responsibility. You looking to legally avoid taxes and stay out of federal prison and keep all of the income that you generate through the exchange of your energy in the commercial marketplace? You got to put in that work. You got to make the sacrifices. Maybe I can help. Maybe we can help. If you're interested in trustee training here at the foundation, email us, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. I will tell you we're in a session right now. And, after this session, we're moving to what we got, a different kind of, structure. So I recommend if you have the means, if you resonate with this information, you might want to email me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. Get in while you fit in. Things are changing. I almost retired. But even still, this economy is getting bad stuff. We got FedNow, we got coins, it's CBDCs, drones dropping off, your kit and caboodle. You got the World Economic Forum that says you will own nothing and be happy. They say you will own nothing and control everything. They said you will own nothing and be happy. There's a lot of forces, geopolitical, social, that are pushing things in a lot of different ways. And if you're anything like me, you don't really feel too much in control until you look at the private trust indenture. It's a blessing. And, you know, I can't tell you how much it's changed my life. And, you know, all this about the foundation, I'm just trying to share my experience, you know, share the love, share the wealth, you know. What they call it, don't forget where you come from. I used to hear it all the time, especially when, you know, I started kind of getting real popular with this music dance and stuff. You know, people used to always be like, don't forget where you came from. And I just took that as them acknowledging like a distance between us, whether it's in success or, you know, monetary wise or, you know, status, whatever, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you do and what you don't do. That's what changes and what separates us. Other than that, we're all the same. We're all equal. Some of us may have different attributes, higher intelligence, quicker muscles. Doesn't matter. It's all about what you do. And it's all about what you don't do. So I encourage you, hit me up, admin at welcometothefoundation.com. Jump in the trustee training. Or, you know, at the very least, get the trust primer, get the trust series, and, you know, you know, it will really fill in a lot of holes if you have a lot of holes. And, you know, maybe it will allow you to make a more informed decision with regards to whether or not trustee training is for you. But I suggest email us, admin at welcometothefoundation.com, and do that dance. Also, May 13th, y'all. May 13th, Atlanta. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all. It's been a minute. It's been like 4 years since I did an in-person event. I swear it's been like 4 years. It's been like 4 years since I've done an in-person event. I'm actually looking forward to it, y'all. You know, the board of trustees is excited. You know, here at the foundation, we got a board of trustees. You know, you maybe, you know, meet a couple of the board members. You know, but, you know, hey, I'm going to say a lot of stuff, you know, that I don't say on the air. You know, it's a private, you know, function. I'm taking the gloves off. And we're going to get into the stuff. You know, we're going to get into it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about a lot of things I don't talk about. A lot of things. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be fun. It's going to be wonderful. And it's a great place to meet like-minded individuals, people like us. Because if you're anything like me, or if you feel anything like me, ain't too many people around me that are on the same things I'm on and thinking the same things I'm thinking. You know what I mean? So I invite you to come check us out. Admin at Welcome to the Foundation for tickets. What is it? $250 for one single person, $350 for a couple. I forgot to say that. $250 a person, $350 a couple. Also, hit us up, admin at Welcome to the Foundation, if you want to get your hands on one of them exclusive normalized campaign tees. Exclusive, limited edition, exclusive logo design. I mean, I like them. I think they're cold. You know, shout out to Bay Area Gear for, you know, partnering. You deliver cargo to a customer's door. The P2 zip hovers around 300 feet above ground level and dispatches a kind of mini aircraft and container called the droid. The droid descends on a long, thin tether and maneuvers quietly into place with fan-like thrusters before setting down a package for retrieval. Yo, check this out. I mean, this is kind of cool, but it's also horrifying.